Okay, so although today is Wednesday, October 25th, we're going to go ahead and do October 23rd's opener today. So we're a little bit behind due to absences. So for the first one, we have the square root of 36. The square root of 36 is considered a
perfect square.
A perfect square. So you can show your work in two different ways. I'm going to skip factoring it because I don't want to do some extra work. So if I'm going to show that the square root of 36 is a perfect square, how do I show it? What steps do I have to do?
Draw your little line, factor tree.
No, I don't want to factor it.
Square
Draw the square root and then put the 6, then put a 2 above it, and then cross that 2 out, and then put a little equal sign, then just put the 6.
Good.
Me too.
No. If you factored it, no, you did not do it wrong. If you factored it, listen.
Oh, okay.
If you factored it, that is completely fine. That's another way of showing your work. Did you get your final answer 6?
Yeah.
Did you show all your work? Then you're fine. I'm just showing that it's a perfect square. I'm being lazy. I didn't want to show all the factoring. Now, when we get to 3 square root of 140, we want to go ahead and put this square root in simplest form. 140 is not a perfect square. So we're going to have to go ahead and factor it here. So what two numbers can I multiply together to get 140, Darius?
20 and 7.
Okay?
Then 2 and 10, then 5 and 6. Then you say
Now, when I come up to the right, I'm going to put my equal sign. The first thing that I need to remember to put down next to my equal sign is the what? The 3, my coefficient. I can't forget that coefficient. So 3, square root, and then all of my factors go under the square root sign. So I'm going to have 2 times 5 times 7. From here, I'm going to go ahead and simplify as usual. So I'm going to circle my factor pairs. This factor pair cancels with the square root and joins the 3 as a coefficient. So what's 3 times 2?
6.
And then square root, what do I have left as my radican?
5 times 7.
Which is 35. So my answer is 6 square root 35. You good?
I know I did it right.
Okay. This next one, you might find this on your Khan Academy. So you have the square root of 1 over 50. The first thing that you want to do is give the top its own square root sign and the bottom its own square root sign. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put my equal sign, and I'm going to give the numerator its own square root sign, and I'm going to give the denominator its own square root sign. Now, I'm going to have to simplify each square root. The square root of 1 equals what? 1. But the square root of 50, I'm going to have to factor and put it in simplest form. So my square root of 1 equals 1. That stays your numerator. That stays as your top number. But then the square root of 50, we're just going to go ahead and factor it and put it in simplest form. So what two numbers can I multiply together to get 50?
5 and 10.
Then 2 and 5.
Okay.
Then circle
Now, down below the square root of 50, I'm going to continue showing my work for putting it in simplest form. So as Deontay was saying, I'm going to put my square root sign. I'm going to put my 2 times my 5 times my 5. From here, I need to circle my factor pairs, which are my 5s. So the square root of 50 in simplest form is going to be what?
5 square root of 2.
Good, 5 square root of 2. So what you're going to do with this now, so the square root of 50 simplified as 5 square root of 2, you're just going to put that answer as your denominator. And that's it. That's all you do. So that's going to be your answer. Put my initial, or put your initials on that one, Beyonce, since you weren't in here for it. All right, now flip it over. So the back side of your opener, we have adding and subtracting square roots and multiplying square roots. So far at this point, we've covered simplifying square roots Now we're going to do adding and subtracting square roots and multiplying square roots. This is all going to be on your test next week.
Wait, so it's like it's not the right shit.
Okay, so the next one, we have the square root of 6 plus the square root of 150 minus the square root of 72. Can I go ahead and just add and subtract these how they are? No, because they're not like terms. So the first thing I'm going to have to do is go ahead and simplify each individual square root. So the square root of 6, we're going to go ahead and factor it.
2, 3.
Deontay, why don't you go ahead and factor each of these? And then 150,
15,
10,
Under the 15, we put 3 and 5. And under 10, we put 2 and 5. Then for the 72,
give me a second.
9 and 2.
hold on. And then the 72,
9 and 8. And then under the 9, put 3, 3. Under the 8, put 2, 4. And then
all right, freeze.
2, 4.
So 8, I'm going to put 2 and 4.
And then under the 4, put 2, 2. And then
All right, I'm going to have you stop there. Good. After you factor them, you're going to drop down and you're going to put all of your prime factors. Now, are you going to put them under their own individual square root sign, or are you going to put them all under the same square root sign? Individual square root sign. So for the square root of 6, it's just 2 times 3. Well, is that going to have a factor pair? No. So what could we write that as? Just the square root of 6. You could write out that 2 times 3, but it's going to give you the same answer because there are no factor pairs. All right, Darius, what do I bring down next? And then a, keep going.
2 times 3 times 5 times 5.
And then what? Then
Minus
the square root sign.
2 times 2 times 3 times.
All right. We're going to circle our factor pairs.
you forgot to put 2 5 in there.
All right, so the square root of 6 we already determined is the square root of 6 plus, okay, what is the square root of 150 in simplest form, Brendan? So what's the square root of 150 in simplest form? So what, 5 square root what? Deontay, please be quiet, I'm not asking you. 6. Then I bring down my subtraction sign. Brendan, what's the square root of 72 in simplest form? Wait, what's going to be my coefficient? 2 times 3, which is? Square root. Good. All right, and then my final step is combine my like terms. When I go to combine my like terms, I want to put them in order based on the radicand from least to greatest. So my smallest radicand up there is a 2. If my smallest radicand is a 2, can I combine that with any other term up on there? No. So what am I going to write first? Rihanna? So what am I going to go and write first then?
I'm going to negative 6 with the 2.
Okay, so negative 6 square root 2. Sorry, I ran out of room, so I'm just writing it next to it here. So negative 6 square root 2. Then what are my like terms I combine?
6, wait.
Mm-hmm.
Square root of 6 and 5 square root of 6.
Okay, if it does not have a coefficient, what is my coefficient? What value can I give it?
A 1.
A 1. So then we're going to combine our coefficients and get,
6.
okay?
12, right?
No, what happens to our radicand? Our radicand
Stays the same.
stays the same. There you go. And that's going to be your final answer. Okay. So if you missed it, make sure you fix it. All right, and the last one. Multiplying square roots. multiplying square roots, we have 3 steps that we're going to follow. The first step is multiply your coefficients. So if I multiply my coefficients here, Jemiah, what am I going to end up with? 3. Second step is to factor my radicand. Imagine, can I factor 7? No. It's a prime number. I'm going to circle it because I'm still going to use that as my prime number under my square root sign. What about 350, Imagine?
Yes.
Okay, what can I multiply it by?
14 times 25.
And then for 14?
7 times 2.
And for 25?
5 times 12.
Sorry guys, my phone is on. I'm making sure daycare doesn't call. Okay, so with these factors, what do I do with them? What do I do with all these?
Put them all in the same thing.
That's almost it. What's that thing called?
Surrounding.
Good. The key point that Deontay just said though, put them under the same. And as Darius was adding in, make sure that when we put them in under the same square root sign that we put them in order from least to greatest. So when we go to put them in order from least to greatest, what's that going to look like, Nick?
2 times 5 times 5 times 7 times 7.
Perfect. And then I'm going to circle my factor pairs. They're going to cancel with the square root sign and join my 3 out as the coefficient. So instead of writing the extra step, what's my new coefficient going to be? I'm going to take 3 times, which equals?
105.
I think my coefficient is wrong, Mr. McFarland. So 3 times 5 is 15. 15 times 7 is 105. Square root
2.
2. And that's your final answer.